Shalom, family. Back with another lesson. Coming out of Ecclesiastes chapter 2. And it reads as follows. I said to my heart, come now, I will test you with myrrh. Therefore, enjoy pleasure. But surely this also was vanity. Verse 2. I said of laughter, madness, and of myrrh, what doth it accomplish? See, Solomon was basically soul searching, and he wanted the meaning of life and what really brought life meaning into the forefront and what he should actually be striving and living for. And so he began to look at laughter and having fun and folly. And he said after all of this laughter, when it all boiled down, when he looked at it for what it really was, he saw it was nothing but madness, foolishness. So he said it was vanity also. It was basically nothing that could be gained out of sitting down laughing and having a good time and just partying without putting in any kind of work. So I go as follows, 2 and 2. Now I'm down in verse 3. I searched in my heart how to gratify my flesh with wine. So he figured I tried drinking to see what that brings on, while guiding my heart with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was good for the sons of man to do under heaven all the days of their lives. See, he wanted to basically, Solomon was soul searching to see what gives this life meaning. What are we really here for? What are we to be doing to bring pleasure to the Lord and to ourselves? Verse 4. I made my works great. I built myself houses. I planted myself vineyards. I made myself gardens and orchards. And I planted all kinds of fruit trees. See, Solomon had it all. Anything that a man could even fathom, Solomon had it. He planted all these things trying to see what would bring meaning to his life. And he had yet to find it. Out of all this, it still was no meaning if you didn't have the Lord of the worlds to serve and to get his wisdom on how to live and navigate through this life. Verse 2 and 5. I made myself gardens and orchards. I planted all kinds of fruit trees in them. Verse 6. I made myself pools from which to water the growing trees and the groves. I acquired male and female servants, and had servants born in my house. Yes, I had greater possessions of herds and flock than all who were in Jerusalem before me. You see, Solomon, he had it all. There was nothing else that he could grasp for that the Lord hadn't already blessed him with, including wisdom and knowledge. He said, I also gathered for myself silver and gold and special treasures of the king of the providences. I acquired male and female singers. See, he even had entertainment, the top entertainers, the top jewels and gold. You name it, Solomon had it. There was nothing he had want of. And delights of the sons of men, and musical instruments of all kinds. So I became great and exceeded more than all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me. See, after he grasped all these things, he didn't lose sight that the Lord was still with him and his great wisdom was still upon him. So he was wise enough to go out to see what really am I here for? What must the meaning? The same question Solomon asked back then, people are asking the same question now. Lord, what am I here for? What is my purpose on this planet? I got this big house. I got this 6-figure job. I got the trophy wife. I got the beautiful children. What else am I here for? Lord, surely there must be more to life than this. Solomon asked that question years ago, and he was starting to find the answer to it, just as we are asking the same question today. 2 and 10. Wherever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. Whatever he desired and wanted, he had it. I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure. For my heart rejoiced in all my labor, and this was my reward for all my labor. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had done, and on the labor in which I had toiled. And indeed, all was vanity. He looked at all he had accomplished, and when at the end of the day, it was fleeting, it was vanity. It had no real meaning apart from the Lord of the worlds, and grasping for the wind. There was, look what Solomon said, there was no profit under the sun in these things. See, there's nothing wrong with having wealth, but you got to realize you have the wealth. Don't let the wealth have you. And above all things, do not lose sight on who gave you that wealth and who gives your life meaning and substance. And that's the Creator and the plan that He set for us. 2 and 12. Then I turned myself to consider wisdom and madness and folly. See, Solomon began to line it all up and see, what does wisdom have to offer? What does partying and laughing and jesting and having a good time, what does that really have to offer me at the end of the day? For what can the man do who succeeds the king? Only what he has already done. Then I saw the wisdom exceeds folly, as light exceeds darkness. The wise man's eyes are in his head. See, a foolish man looks at what he sees, and he looks at what his eyes behold. But a man of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, he looks with the mind of his heart. And when the Bible says that a man's eyes is in his head, his head, it actually means his heart. He's looking with the heart of God and the heart of the Creator. It's because he's looking through the lenses of wisdom and knowledge. And that wisdom and knowledge, in fact, the scripture says wisdom and knowledge will be the stability of our times. Wisdom and knowledge helps us navigate through this life, helps us see what's important and what's foolishness, and what we are to put our attention on. 2 and 14. The wise man's eyes are in his head, but the fool walks in darkness. Yet I myself perceive that the same events happen to them all. 2 and 15. So I said in my heart, as it happened to the fool, it also happens to me. You see, Solomon was saying, if I live according to what this world says is a good idea, what happened to the fool will end up happening to me. I will meet no greater fate than he met. The same hole he fell in, I will fall in. The same cliff he went off of, I will go off of. So we can't live according to our understanding or the knowledge, the so-called wisdom of this world. We are kept by the wisdom of the Creator. Use his book, his Bible, his book of life, his owner's manual. Just like you get a car and you have an owner's manual that tell you what type of gas to use in that car, what type of oil to use, what type of maintenance to give that car the best performance. So it is with this book right here. The Lord of the worlds gave us, the Ancient of Days. Just like your car has an owner's manual, guess what? This is our owner's manual. We'll do what he tells us to do, and we will have life and reap life everlasting. Deviate from it, and you're inviting calamity. So stick with the Lord and what he told us to do, and you will never go wrong. Turn off of his path, and you can be sure that death and calamity is in your path. Coming out of 2 and 15. So I said in my heart, as it happens to the fool, it also happens to me. And why was I then more wise? See, you're no wiser than the fool if you go the way of the fool. Then I said in my heart, this is also vanity. (2 and 16). For there is no more remembrance of the wise than of the fool forever. Since all that now is will be forgotten in the days to come. And how does a wise man die? As a fool. Because see, if you go the way of the fool, you end up in the same place that the fool. If you use the same tools that the fools use, you will end up where the fools end up. 2:17. Therefore I hated life, because of the work that was done under the sun was distressing to me, for all its vanity and grasping for the wind. Then I hated all my labor in which I had toiled under the sun, because Solomon saw that even after he achieved all this wealth, at the end of the day, there was nothing from it. You die and leave it for someone else to enjoy. All of your blood, sweat, and tears will be left to someone else because you can't take it with you. 2:18. Then I hated all of my labor and all that he worked for, because he realized that it wasn't going with him, in which I toiled under the sun, because I must leave it to the man who comes after me. Like we leave an inheritance to our children. Now, there's nothing wrong with leaving an inheritance to our children, where we must first make sure that our children take on the ways of the Creator and establish His word in their hearts, so that they will not live foolishly with the inheritance that you gave them and left them. They won't squander and foolishly waste it like the prodigal son did and be brought to naught. So Solomon say, I hated all of my labor in which I toiled under the sun, because I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool. You see, when you work all of these years, 30 or 40 years, and leave it to your children, you don't know whether those children are going to do the right thing with all of the things that you left them, or they're going to live foolishly. We can only do the best that we can in the Lord of the worlds and instill in them His laws, statutes, and commandments, and hope and pray that it took root, where they will not lead foolish lives and they will not squander what the Lord had given to them from a wise and a prudent father and mother. Verse 19. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool? Yet he will rule over all my labor, which I have toiled, and which I have sown, and which I have shown myself wise under the sun. This is vanity. Solomon saying, in other words, if I use wisdom and accomplished all this, and I left it for my children, who's to know whether will use wise judgment or foolish judgment, and he will be king over everything that I toil so hard for. See, you see it many times in these cases where parents work for years, leave the kids a house, leave them cars, leave them money, and in no time flat, a year or two, all of that they've worked 30 or 40 years for, that foolish young person will lose it all in 10 days, lose it all in 6 months, lose it all in a year. See, you can go through $1 million in a couple of days if you don't utilize wisdom and you don't have wisdom with it. So Solomon was basically saying that if this Bible has more bearing on lives than we realize. Like I say, it's the owner's manual for life. We can train up our children the ways they should go with this Bible. And if you don't instill that in them, and most of all, if they don't take it to heart and it doesn't take root into them, what you left them will go to naught, and they will end up living foolish lives and squandering all that you work for and all that you save to make their lives better than yours. So wisdom is the principal thing. And above all, living by this book means the difference between life and death. As I said earlier, it's the owner's manual for our lives. So I said all that to say this, and I hope you were edified by this video that the Most High put on me to edify you, and I hope that it was edifying and you found it profitable in wisdom and knowledge. Shalom.